discussion is going on regarding the novel entitled A Passage to India by E.M.Forster. So far in the discussion, we went through the career of the novelist, that is Foster, then the major characters with their attitudes. Later on, we discussed the settings in the present novel along with the themes, and we come towards the half of the present story. We went through the arrival, or just the beginning of the present novel. Then we discussed the bridge party. Then we discussed the tea party arranged by Cyril Fielding. Then we went through a very important issue in the present story, that is Marabar Caves. Then we have been discussing Adela's illusion. So we discussed that Aziz was with Adela in the cave. We saw how Adela immediately came down from the cave and she entered into the car of Miss Darrett and went back quickly to Chandrapur. So Aziz has no idea what has happened, what has gone wrong with Adela, right? And immediately after that incident, Aziz is arrested at the railway station of Chandrapur. And Aziz was told by the police that he has been charged of trying to rape, attempt of rape to Adela in the Marabar caves. So Aziz is very shocked, and Aziz tried his level best to say that he is innocent, but nobody noticed his prayers. So Aziz was sent to the jail and the matter is brought to the court. Now, as we discussed in our last lecture, that the whole city, Chandrapur city, is divided into two groups. One group is of Indians and second group is of the British. So the Indians supported Dr. Aziz and declared Aziz as innocent. But on the other hand, the British tried to blame the Indians and called Indians as uncultured and wild people. Right. So the whole city is under tension regarding this case. So we can say that this case was not now the case between Adela and Dr. Aziz. It is the case between two groups. So this issue got a racial touch. It's now the issue of conflict between the British and the Indians. Right. So as far as the stand of the characters in the present novel is concerned, we can say that Fielding supports Dr. Aziz. Fielding feels that Dr. Aziz can never do such a thing and he declares Aziz as innocent. So the British group starts criticizing Fielding, as the group, that is the British group, expected that as Fielding is a British, he may support the British group, that is Adela, but he on the other hand supports his best friend, that is Dr. Aziz. So Fielding is criticized heavily, right? So as far as Mrs. Moore is concerned, Mrs. Moore shared the same view of Cyril Fielding, and she also feels that Dr. Aziz is innocent, and she discusses this issue with her son, that is Ronnie. She discusses with Ronnie that there must be some misunderstanding and Aziz cannot do such a thing to Adela. But on the other hand, Ronnie, who always hates the Indians, he got a chance to teach a lesson to Dr. Aziz and the Indians. So Ronnie tries his level best to make sure that Dr. Aziz should be punished under this charge of attempt of rape. But when Ronnie learns that Mrs. Moore is supporting Dr. Aziz, he feels that if Mrs. Moore is presented in the court and if she records her statement in favor of Dr. Aziz, then Dr. Aziz may have a positive position in the case, as Mrs. Moore was also present in the caves at that moment. So Ronnie becomes angry and he starts thinking that his mother, that is Mrs. Moore, should not visit the court and should not participate in the trial. So he prepares a plan. So Ronnie is alarmed by his mother's statement that Aziz is innocent, and Ronnie arranges for the return of Mrs. Moore to England by ship, right, before she can influence the trial in the court. So Ronnie even orders Mrs. Moore to go back to England immediately, not to stay in India. And when Mrs. Moore asks the reason, Ronnie tries to dominate her and he tells her to go back immediately. And he uses force to do that. रॉनी आता मिसेस मूरला इंग्लंडला पाठवण्याची तयारी करतो आणि जेव्हा मिसेस मूर टाळाटाळ करते तेव्हा रॉनी तिला जबरदस्ती तिथे पाठवण्याचा कार्यक्रम सुरू करतो. नाउ मिसेस मूर इज रेडी टू गो टू इंग्लंड बाय शिप. But what happens on the return journey? Mrs. Moore dies on the ship, and we are shocked to learn this. And there is a chance that Mrs. Moore may be killed by or let's say murdered by Ronnie, but no clear hint is given in the story, right? So we are shocked and surprised over the sudden death of Mrs. Moore on the ship. So Mrs. Moore is not there. So Dr. Aziz is now without any support, right? And his main support was Mrs. Moore. Now the case is in full flow in the court, and Adela is brought in the court. The courtroom is full of Indian and British people. The Indians support Dr. Aziz and the British support Adela. So a racial issue is there covered this trial. So when Adela comes to the court, Adela is asked if she is sure that Dr. Aziz had tried to rape her. But when Adela starts recalling the incident in the Malabar caves, she becomes confused. She becomes confused. And why she is confused? She fails to recall that incident. She fails to remember that incident. And she fails even to describe that incident in front of the judge. Right? And she recalls a single thing in the cave, and that was the echo of the sound in that cave. So when Adela describes what happened in the Malabar caves in the company of Dr. Aziz, she fails to describe that incident, and she tells the judge that she remembers nothing but the echo in that cave. The echo in that cave, and when she heard that echo, she was confused. It was a great mental shock to Adela. It was a great mental shock to Adela. Adela gives her statement to the judge that when she heard that echo, it had a very great impact on her mind. She was scared. She was terrified. She was in the position of panic when she received that echo. And she tells to the court that because of that echo, she must have mistakenly interpreted her shock as an assault by Dr. Aziz. ती सांगते आहे की कदाचित त्या आवाजामुळे मी खूप घाबरली आणि गैरसमज करून बसली की अजीजने माझ्यावर बलात्कार करण्याचा प्रयत्न केला. म्हणजेच इट मीन्स that Aziz did not try to rape Adela, and it was just a misunderstanding, and Adela mistakenly interpret means अर्थ लावणे, interpreted her shock means because of that echo sound, because of that shock as an assault, as an attempt of rape by Dr. Aziz. So indirectly she tells that Dr. Aziz has not touched her. Dr. Aziz is innocent. She admits that she was mistaken. She admits that it's her mistake. And the court releases Dr. Aziz as innocent. Now, Dr. Aziz comes out of the jail. Aziz is released. But Aziz is a changed person now. Aziz is very angry. Aziz is very angry, and he blames Adela that he had not done anything wrong to Adela. Then why she did charged him of the fake crime. And Adela has no answer. Adela fails to describe her mental situation. She fails to describe Aziz that at that moment in the cave, she was confused. She was under shock because of the echo sound. So Dr. Aziz is totally angry with Adela. And he angrily tells Adela that she almost tried to ruin his life with a fresh charge. Ruin means नुकसान करणे, आयुष्य वाया घालवणे. आणि अजीज अडेलाला म्हणतो की तुझ्या अशा खोट्या आरोपामुळे माझ्या आयुष्याचा सत्यानाश झाला असता, माझ्या आयुष्याचं नुकसान झालं असतं. आणि ॲडेला कडे याचं उत्तर नाही. ॲडेला सांगायला कचरते की त्या केव्ज मध्ये तिच्यासोबत काय घडलं, आणि ती सांगत नाही डॉक्टर अजीजला की त्या भयंकर अशा इको साऊंडमुळे तिचा गैरसमज झालेला आहे. आता अजीज ॲडेलाचं तोंड सुद्धा बघू इच्छित नाही. नाव अजीज स्टार्ट्स हेटिंग ॲडेला, and Aziz is shocked to see the reaction of serial Fielding. Right. Before that, Ronnie Haslock breaks off his engagement to Adela. Ronnie is also angry with Adela. Ronnie is of the opinion that Adela should make Aziz punish under this trial. But Adela did what? Adela wrongly withdrew the charge, and now Dr. Aziz is released from the jail. So Ronnie becomes angry and he breaks off the engagement with Adela. And what happens? Adela is now under a shock. She has lost her friend, that is Dr. Aziz. She has lost her would-be husband, that is Ronnie. Right? So she is under tension. And Fielding comes to have a talk with Adela. And Adela tries her level best to describe what happened in the cave to Fielding. And Fielding believes in Adela. Fielding believes with Adela, and Fielding takes Adela to his house. And Fielding supports Adela over there. And when Dr. Aziz learns that Fielding is supporting Adela, Dr. Aziz becomes double angry. And Aziz now decides to file a case against Adela, that is defamation case. Defamation, 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 badnamiza khatla. Aziz feels that because of this case his name has been damaged in the society. That's why he decides to file a case against Adela of defaming. Right. So when Fielding learns about this new step by Dr. Aziz, Fielding comes to meet Dr. Aziz and requests Aziz not to file a case against Adela. Right? So next day, Fielding goes with Adela to England. And when Dr. Aziz learns that Fielding is with Adela and they both have gone to England, Dr. Aziz misunderstands that Fielding and Adela might got married and they have gone to England for the rest of their lives. So Dr. Aziz starts hating Fielding, hating hating Adela also. So we can say that the attitudes have been changed of each and every character. So Dr. Aziz starts hating his best friend, that is Fielding, and Adela also. So Dr. Aziz does not make sure that Fielding and Adela are married or not. He was not sure whether they have married to one another or to each other or not. Then Dr. Aziz takes an oath not to see the face of Fielding. He even decides not to have a friendship with a British. So Dr. Aziz starts hating all the white people, all the British people. And after this incident, Aziz leaves Chandrapur city and comes to a new place, that is Mau, and settles over there. Mau is a city. So he starts a new life at Mahu, and a new chapter in the story starts. And we are moving towards the end of the present novel. There is a gap of 2 years. The story resumes after 2 years. And what happens after 2 years? Fielding returns to India. Everything is changed now. That his best friend, that is Dr. Aziz, is in Mahu, not in Chandrapur. Fielding marries not Adela but Stella. Stella is the wife of Fielding. It means that Fielding did not marry Adela. And Stella is Mrs. Moore's daughter from a second marriage. So Mrs. Moore had a second marriage and Stella was a daughter from a second marriage. Now Aziz is Raja's chief physician, doctor, comes to respect and love Fielding again. And when he learns that Fielding did not marry Adela, his misunderstanding disappears and they again becomes good friends. So Fielding and Aziz become good friends once again. And Fielding, Godbole, and Dr. Aziz, they are on a ship going towards a temple. And they are now discussing friendship between a British and an Indian. Fielding asks Dr. Aziz if the friendship between Indians and British now possible. But Dr. Aziz replies that not now, and not now. It means that there cannot be a friendship between a British and the Indians. With this remark, the present novel ends. And what happened next, we don't have any idea. But all the characters, that is Godbole, Dr. Aziz, and Fielding, they are discussing about the friendship between the Indians and the British. So Fielding has a positive approach towards the friendship between Indians and the British, but Aziz, as he received bad experience, he has a negative view regarding friendship between Indians and the British.